moments late at night or in the quiet spaces between conversations, where a thought creeps in, a thought you push away because it's too vast, too uncomfortable. But it lingers, it whispers, what if this is all there is? You feel it when you're staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. You feel it when you wake up, caught in the sameness of another day. It's that quiet, creeping question of whether any of this really matters, your job, your relationships, your past, your future. It's not depression, not exactly. It's something else, a hollow kind of weight. And most people never talk about it, but we should. An existential crisis doesn't arrive all at once. It builds slowly, like a crack spreading across glass. It might begin when you accomplish something you thought would make you happy. But the happiness doesn't last, or when you realize the dreams you chased were planted by someone else. It starts when you lose someone, or when you achieve everything you wanted and it still feels empty. We talk about anxiety, depression, trauma, but rarely do we talk about the silent terror of meaninglessness. Because how do you even explain that? It's not just sadness. It's the fear that none of this is real in any way that matters. For most of our lives, we don't question meaning. Society gives us a script. Study hard, get a job, find love, make money, have kids, retire. But no one tells you what to do when you wake up and realize you don't feel anything about these things the way you were supposed to. And what's worse, you can't escape it. The human brain craves meaning. Without it, we unravel. So we try to construct it, religion, achievement, relationships. But what happens when those things fail? What happens when we realize they were never intrinsic to the universe, only assigned by human minds desperate for purpose? There's something terrifying about the idea that life doesn't have a built-in meaning. Because if that's true, then what are we supposed to do? Some people turn to nihilism, embracing the idea that nothing matters. But nihilism is a trap, a dead end. It convinces you that if there is no objective meaning, then there is no reason to care about anything. But that's a mistake, because if nothing matters, then everything matters. That means we get to choose what is meaningful. Not because the universe has dictated it, but because we have. Here's the paradox. The absence of inherent meaning doesn't make life less significant, it makes it more. Because it means every act of kindness, every moment of love, every pursuit of knowledge is something we chose. Not because we were programmed to, but because we decided to. Think about it this way. If the universe was designed to give us purpose, we would be nothing more than actors reading lines in a play written by something else. But we're not. We're the writers, the directors. We get to create the script. That is both terrifying and liberating. A big part of the existential crisis comes from comparison. We see people who seem to have it all figured out, a dream career, a happy family, confidence, purpose, but here's the truth, nobody has it all figured out. Even the most successful people experience moments of doubt, of emptiness. We just don't see it. The myth of the perfect life keeps us chasing something that doesn't exist. And when we inevitably fall short, we assume we're the problem. But the real problem is the expectation that we should feel fulfilled all the time. Life doesn't work like that, and that's okay. Maybe meaning isn't something we need to find or build. Maybe it's something we just need to notice, a moment of laughter with a friend. The way the wind moves through the trees. A quiet night where, for a split second, everything feels okay. Maybe these moments don't add up to some grand universal purpose, but maybe they don't need to. Because meaning doesn't have to be permanent to be real. Maybe the fact that life is fleeting is what makes it so profoundly beautiful. We are surrounded by illusions. Social media, movies, carefully curated versions of success and happiness. Everywhere we look, we see people who seem to have figured it out, who seem fulfilled, purposeful, certain, and we compare ourselves to them. We wonder, why don't I feel that way? What's wrong with me? But here's the truth. That perfect life does not exist. People who seem the most certain are often the ones running from their own doubts the fastest. One is immune to this crisis, not the wealthy, not the famous, not the ones who seem to have it all. Everyone, at some point, will have to face the void. There's something insidious about routine. It makes life easier, predictable, manageable, but it also numbs us. Days blur into weeks, weeks into years, and before we know it, we've spent decades moving through emotions that never truly felt alive. When was the last last time you did something that genuinely surprised you? When was the last time you made a choice that wasn't based on obligation, expectation, or habit? Sometimes we aren't actually living, we're just rehearsing for a life we assume will happen later. But later is not guaranteed. If you do not wake up now, then when? Imagine yourself at the end of your life, looking back. What do you see? What do you wish you had done? Who do you wish you had been? The weight of regret is heavier than the weight of failure. Because at least failure means you try. Regret is the absence of trying. It's the realization that you played it safe, that you let fear dictate your choices, that you ignored the whisper inside of you that said there is more to this life than what you are settling for. But here's the thing, if you are still here, if you are still breathing, then it is not too late. The version of yourself that you are afraid of never becoming is not set in stone. It is still being written, and you hold the pen. We spend so much time searching for meaning in grand, sweeping narratives, our careers, our relationships, our legacy. But often, the most profound moments are the small ones, the ones we almost miss. The way sunlight filters through your window in the morning. The feeling of warmth in your chest when someone laughs at your joke. The quiet presence of a friend who doesn't need words to understand you. Life is not waiting for some monumental revelation. Meaning is not something you find, it is something you notice. And when you stop looking for it in the distance, you start seeing it everywhere. We crave answers. We want certainty. We want to know that we are on the right path, that our choices will lead somewhere meaningful. But certainty is a myth. Life does not come with guarantees. And that is not a flaw, it is the very thing that makes it beautiful. To surrender to uncertainty is to embrace the truth that you are never going to have all the answers. And that's okay. The goal is not to eliminate doubt, but to learn how to move forward despite it. To be brave enough to keep going, even when the road ahead is unclear. This crisis can feel isolating. Like you are the only one asking these questions, the only one struggling to find a reason to care. But you are not alone. Every person you have ever met, no matter how confident, how successful, how certain they appear, has felt this too. They may not talk about it, but they have felt it. There's something profoundly human about this struggle. And that means there is something profoundly unifying about it too. If you feel lost, know this, you are walking a path that millions before you have walked. And there will always be others walking it alongside you. Some of the greatest art, music, philosophy, and ideas in human history were born from existential crisis. From people who looked into the void and, instead of falling into despair, decided to build something instead. Creation is an act of defiance. It is a way of saying, even if the universe does not give me meaning, I will carve it out for myself. So write, paint, build, speak, not because the world demands it, but because your soul does. Because expression is one of the few ways we can make sense of the chaos. Maybe there's no ultimate answer. Maybe life is just a series of moments strung together by our choices, our experiences, our fleeting joys and quiet sorrows. Maybe meaning is not something we are given, maybe it is something we practice. And if that is true, then the greatest act of courage is simply this, to keep going. To wake up, to face the uncertainty, to choose again and again to live. Not because we are guaranteed meaning, but because we are free to create it. We are wired for survival. The brain seeks comfort, security, the known. And yet, the moments we feel most alive are often the ones where we step into discomfort, where we take risks, where we allow ourselves to change. This is one of the core tensions of existence. Do we prioritize safety or do we seek growth? Because true growth, true transformation is painful. It requires dismantling old versions of ourselves. It forces us to face hard truths. It asks us to abandon the illusion that we already have everything figured out. And that is terrifying, but stagnation is equally terrifying. So which fear do you choose? The fear of change or the fear of never changing at all? Some people seek meaning through philosophy. Others find it in spirituality, religion, or science. Some chase it through art, creation, love. But the truth is, no one has a definitive answer. And perhaps that is what makes the search so vital. If we had all the answers, the search would end. And without the search, what would we have left? Maybe meaning is not a destination, maybe it is the act of seeking itself. To be human is to question, to explore, to wonder. And maybe the very fact that we are asking these questions at all, that we are searching for meaning rather than succumbing to meaninglessness is what makes life worth living. One of the most profound shifts we can make is understanding that meaning is not found, it is assigned. The same event can be seen as meaningless or deeply significant depending on the lens through which we view it. Think about a moment in your life that changed you. Something that, at the time, felt painful, overwhelming, impossible to endure. Now, looking back, can you see how it shaped you? How it forced you to grow in ways you never would have otherwise? What if we started seeing every experience, even the painful ones, as opportunities for meaning? Not because the universe demands it, but because we choose to frame it that way. What if meaning is not about what happens to us, but about how we interpret it? Now that you've listened to all of this, now that these words have settled into your mind, the real question remains, what will you do with them? Will you let them fade into the background, another passing thought in an ocean of distractions, or will you let them change you? Because knowing is not enough, understanding is not enough. The only thing that matters is what you do with it. Will you live differently? Will you question more? Will you embrace the uncertainty, the discomfort, the paradoxes of life? Or will you retreat back into the familiar, into the illusion of certainty? The choice is yours. It always has been. We always think we have more time. More time to fix our mistakes. More time to chase our dreams. More time to say the things we've left unsaid. But time is not something we have, it's something we use. And the most dangerous assumption we make is that we have plenty of it left. How many moments have you wasted waiting? Waiting for the right circumstances, the right emotions, the right version of yourself. But life does not wait. It moves forward whether you're ready or not. And if you keep waiting, you will wake up one day and realize that time was never the thing holding you back, it was you. Every person is living inside a story, a narrative they've crafted, whether consciously or not, about who they are, what they're capable of, and what their life means. But what if your story isn't true? What if the limits you believe in about yourself, about your potential, are just illusions? What if you're far more capable, far more resilient, far more alive than you've allowed yourself to be? You do not have to keep living inside the same story. You can rewrite it. You can choose a new narrative. And in doing so, you can choose a new life. It is never too late to begin again, to start over, to redefine what matters to you. You do not have to be chained to the past, to the choices you made when you didn't know what you know now. Many people fear change because they believe it means admitting they were wrong. But change does not mean you were wrong, it means you have grown. And growth is not something to fear, it is something to embrace. So if you have been waiting for permission to start over, to reinvent yourself, to step into the unknown and build something new, this is it. This is your permission. If you could speak to your future self, what do you think they would say? Would they tell you to keep playing it safe, to keep waiting for the perfect time? Or would they beg you to live now before it's too late? Regret is heavier than fear. Fear fades once you step through it, but regret lingers. It sits in the background of your life, whispering about all the things you could have done but didn't. Don't let your future self be burdened by the weight of unrealized potential. The only way to avoid regret is to act, to take the risks that scare you, to move forward even when it feels uncertain. We spend so much time fearing the unknown. But what if the unknown isn't something to fear but something to embrace? Think about it. The best moments of your life, the ones that made you feel alive, probably didn't happen when everything was predictable. They happen in the moments of uncertainty, of spontaneity, of stepping beyond what you thought you knew. The unknown is where possibility lives. It's where change happens. It's where life expands. And the only way to experience it is to stop clinging to the illusion of control and step willingly into the mystery. How much of your life have you spent waiting until you feel ready? Until you are good enough, until things are perfect. But what if I told you that perfection is an illusion, that no one ever truly feels ready? That the people who accomplish great things, who live fully, who break free from the cycle of meaninglessness are not the ones who waited. They are the ones who started before they were ready. If you are waiting for perfection, you are waiting for something that will never come. Start where you are, with what you have, right now. We live, we struggle, we search for meaning, but in the end, what remains? There's a quiet fear that lingers in all of us. The fear that one day we will be forgotten. That everything we have done, everything we have felt, will vanish into time, unnoticed and unremembered. But maybe the goal isn't to be remembered forever. Maybe the goal is to matter now. To the people who know us, to the moments we create, to the lives we touch, even in the smallest ways. Because in the end, the present is all we ever truly have. If we can make this moment meaningful, then perhaps that is enough. We spend so much time trying to become something successful, important, loved. But what if meaning isn't in the becoming? What if it's in simply being? There's a profound beauty in existence itself, in feeling the warmth of the sun on your skin, in hearing the sound of rain, in the simple act of breathing, of existing even when everything feels uncertain. Sometimes the answer isn't in searching harder. Sometimes it's in allowing yourself to be here in this moment without needing it to be anything more. We chase certainty like it's the answer to everything. We want to know what will happen, we want guarantees, we want control, but certainty is an illusion. Life does not come with guarantees, and that's what makes it real. What if, instead of fearing uncertainty, you embraced it? What if, instead of needing all the answers, you allowed yourself to live inside the questions? There is a strange kind of peace in accepting that you don't have to know everything, that you don't have to have it all figured out, that maybe, just maybe, it's okay to not have a perfect plan, because life isn't meant to be controlled, it's meant to be experienced. If you have made it this far, if you have listened to these words and felt even a flicker of recognition, then you already know the truth. You're not alone in this. And that means you are capable of finding your way through it. The crisis of meaning is not a flaw in you. It is a sign that you are awake, that you are thinking, that you are alive. And in the end, maybe that is enough. If this resonated with you, if you've ever felt this way, you're not alone. Let's continue this conversation together. Subscribe for more, and if this spoke to you, leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, take care.